The drama surrounding Mike Tyson and Mitch Green is not just a story about two heavyweights clashing inside the ropes. It is something far more volatile, far more unpredictable, a collision between discipline and chaos, between a rising force of nature and a man shaped by the unforgiving reality of the streets. It begins at a moment when Tyson's aura of invincibility had just been slightly shaken, not shattered, but cracked enough for others to believe there might be a way in. After years of demolishing opponents in brutal early-round knockouts, Tyson had finally gone the distance. For the first time, the myth looked human. And in boxing, that's all it takes. That single moment of vulnerability sent ripples through the heavyweight division. Fighters who once saw Tyson as an unstoppable storm now saw an opportunity. Among them stood Mitch Green, a towering, unpredictable figure whose presence carried a different kind of danger. He wasn't just another contender chasing glory. He was a man with a past soaked in survival, someone who had lived through violence long before stepping into a boxing ring. Where Tyson was forged in gyms and guided by discipline, Green had been shaped by the streets, where respect wasn't given, it was taken. Green's rise wasn't conventional. Growing up in a world where chaos was normal, he had already seen more than most fighters ever would before their first professional bout. By the time he turned to boxing seriously, he wasn't just fighting for titles, he was fighting to redefine himself. And for a while, it worked. His size, strength, and natural aggression made him a serious presence in the ring. He built a respectable record, pushed solid opponents, and proved he wasn't just talk. But the streets never fully let him go. His reputation outside the ring often overshadowed what he did inside it, turning him into a figure as feared for his past as for his punches. So when Green began calling out Tyson, it wasn't seen as just another challenge. It felt personal. His words weren't polished or strategic. They were raw, aggressive, and laced with hostility. In an era before social media, his message still found its way to the public through interviews and broadcasts, building tension the old-fashioned way. And Tyson, still young but already carrying a deep intensity, didn't ignore it. He absorbed it. He let it build.
When the two finally met in 1986 at Madison Square Garden, the stage felt almost too small for what was brewing. Tyson entered the ring the way he always did. No robe, no socks, no distractions. Just focus, just intent. Green, despite his earlier bravado, carried a different energy now. The reality of facing Tyson, up close, under the lights, had a way of changing things. From the opening bell, the difference was undeniable. Green had the size, the reach, the physical advantages on paper, but Tyson had something far more dangerous: precision, speed, and a relentless understanding of timing. He didn't just attack, he dismantled. Every movement was calculated, every punch thrown with purpose. Green, who had built his identity on toughness, found himself backing up, reacting instead of dictating. Round after round, Tyson applied pressure like a force that couldn't be slowed. He slipped punches, closed distance, and delivered shots that echoed through the arena. At one point, Green's mouthguard was knocked clean out, a small but symbolic moment that showed just how dominant Tyson was. The crowd could sense it. This wasn't a competitive fight, it was a lesson. And yet, it didn't end in a knockout. Tyson, who had made a habit of finishing fights early, allowed this one to stretch the full 10 rounds. Whether it was discipline, strategy, or something more personal, he chose to extend the punishment rather than end it quickly. By the final bell, the result was never in doubt. Tyson had won decisively, controlling nearly every moment of the fight. But for Green, the loss went deeper than the scorecards. It wasn't just defeat, it was humiliation. That humiliation didn't fade. It lingered, growing into something unresolved. While Tyson's career exploded into superstardom, becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history and dominating the division, Green's path took a different turn. Opportunities slipped away, momentum disappeared, and the distance between the two men widened, not just in skill, but in status. But fate wasn't finished with them. 2 years later, in the early hours of a summer morning in 1988, their worlds collided again, this time far from the controlled environment of a boxing ring. There were no referees, no judges, no rules, just a chance encounter that quickly escalated into something inevitable. Green, reportedly fueled by anger and instability, confronted Tyson on the street, demanding attention, demanding something. Respect, money, a rematch, anything that could restore what he felt had been taken. Tyson didn't walk away. What followed was short, violent, and brutally one-sided. Witnesses described it as over almost as soon as it began, a flash of chaos that lasted mere seconds but carried the weight of everything that had built up between them. Tyson, still in his prime, unleashed the same precision and power that had dominated the ring, but this time without limits. Green was overwhelmed, dropped, and left with serious injuries, including a damaged eye socket that became one of the most talked about details of the incident. There was no footage, no official record, just accounts, stories, and the lingering image of what happens when unresolved conflict spills out into the real world. Green would later claim things happened differently, but the consensus remained clear. The street had settled what the ring could not. In the aftermath, the contrast between their lives became even sharper. Tyson continued his reign, cementing his legacy as one of the most feared fighters in boxing history. Green, on the other hand, drifted further from the spotlight, his career never recovering. He attempted a comeback years later, but the magic was gone. The edge, the timing, the presence, it had all faded. And yet, time has a way of softening even the most intense rivalries. Decades later, what once felt like hatred has turned into something closer to reflection. The anger has cooled, replaced by stories, interviews, and moments where both men can look back and almost laugh at the chaos that once defined them.
Because in the end, this wasn't just about a fight. It was about two men from completely different paths colliding at the peak of their intensity. One rose to become a global icon. The other became a cautionary tale of what happens when talent and turmoil exist side by side. And now, looking back at this unforgettable saga, you have to ask yourself, was this rivalry ever really about boxing, or was it something much deeper from the very beginning? Did Tyson intentionally prolong that first fight to punish Green, or was it simply a masterclass unfolding in real time? And if their paths had been different, could Mitch Green have become something more than just a footnote in Tyson's story? Let me know what you think about this wild chapter in boxing history. And if you want more deep, dramatic breakdowns like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next story that goes far beyond the fight itself.